we all know rappers beef, you know, Eminem, 50 Cent, whatnot. Recently, I came across another beef, a go-to-market kind of beef. So a beef between sauce company personas, which was really fun. I think I made a little rap there. Anyway, my next guest is an amazing person. He's got an amazing career behind him. He was the employee number one of Outreach, where he led the sales to around 230 million, which is incredible. After 8 years, he went to Catalyst and almost doubled the revenue and helped the founders exit the business. He's also like consulting a little bit, and most recently, for the last 5 months, his biggest role so far is there. It's Chief Fun Officer of his family. Ladies and gentlemen, give a very, very, very warm applause for Mark Kosoglow.
Wow. Live. Let's go,
I
Timmy.
love those sound effects. How have you been, man?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Like the sun is shining, I'm fine. And I get to speak with really super interesting people like yourself. So I want to dive right into it, you know? So, career-wise, we're going to dive right into it. And I have a couple of tough questions. So the first one that I always want to know, it's always a different question, to be honest, but what's your favorite color?
I don't know if I have a favorite color. I haven't thought about it since I was like in third grade. I don't know. I like colors. I like all of them. I'm non-discriminatory when it comes to colors.
Just rainbow.
Rainbow, there you go. Yeah, spectrum.
All right. Very nice. The spectrum, very nice. No, so you've had a pretty successful career, if I might say. You've reached some peaks. I'm wondering, because Outreach has been a massive peak. Do you feel like you've been going down from that peak, or that you're still rising? How do you see that?
That's a really great question. I think when you are a part of something as magical as what Outreach was, you're constantly looking for the next version of that is at least that and maybe better. Have I found that yet? No. Will I ever find that? I don't know, man. I know a lot of Outreach alums that, have cycled through lots of jobs afterwards looking for that next really great home with great culture and energy and everybody pushing in the right direction. And you're on a mission and you feel like you're really making a difference in the area and you're selling something that has extreme value and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know many of them that have found new homes where they felt that same sense of purpose and drive and that nice balance of like, I'm feeling stretched, but at the same time, I feel like I'm winning. And so, I don't know, man. I hope I find it again. I haven't yet.
Do you miss it?
Of course. I mean, honestly, but besides the birth of my children, probably one of the most unbelievable moments of my life was with Outreach. And that 8-year run was amazing. But this one moment in particular, Manny had called me up like in maybe March or April of, let's call it 2016, I think. And we had just gone from about $0 to $2.5 million. And we were clocking really, really well in that next year to go from 2.5 to, 7, 8. And he goes, Mark, what if we got to 10 this year? He's like, I want to get to 10. I was like, all right. I mean, at that time, I wasn't very super involved with SaaS. I'd come from a non-SaaS, non-technical background, and that level of growth seemed crazy to me. So I was like, I don't know. But, everything we'd experienced so far said maybe we could do something. So he goes, if we take the whole company to Cabo, if we hit $10 million, do you think people get excited? And I was like, I think people get excited about that. So we threw that down as a challenge. We said if we hit $10 million this year, we'll go to Cabo. We put up these huge banners in the 2 offices. We did weekly calls. We had this thing called this weekly meeting early at 6 a.m. every morning on the West Coast, where everybody would get together and we would every department had what was their contribution to hitting $10 million, and we had to do that every week. We did that for months, and that was an amazing period. But when we got to Cabo, we were on this catamaran, all I think 80 or 90 of us. We're going around that
Mm-hmm.
like iconic little, thing in Cabo with the little arch of rock. And this Justin
Mm-hmm.
Timberlake song came on. And for some reason, this guy named Jordan Greaser, who was one of the early employees, started dancing. And then our most conservative co-founder, the one that is like, Andrew Kinzer, he's like a genius. I love that dude. And all of a sudden, there was a dance battle between Andrew and Jordan Greaser. Now, Jordan Greaser totally expect to get in a dance battle. Andrew Kinzer, I wouldn't put $1 million he would have gotten into a dance battle. They start doing dancing, and then this, like I said, this Justin Timberlake song comes on, and all of a sudden it was like a music video. Like everybody surrounded them. We were all like, we just couldn't believe we were doing that together. We couldn't believe the successes we had, all the hard work we put in, and how it was paying off. And it was this magical like 10 minutes of my life where I felt like I don't know if professionally I'll ever get here again. And as you can tell, like it's really emotional for me, even remembering it. But being in it
Mm-hmm.
it was really significant and really impactful. And like, will I ever have a moment like that again with another company? I don't know, but do I miss moments like that? I sure do.
And how about, because like I feel like also like people are always looking at movies like, oh my god, it's so beautiful. Wow, that never happens in real life. Because people don't do fucking effort to recreate magical movie moments in their personal life. Like, is there any motivation to like be like, hey, I want to start something myself and found something myself and really rock the shit out of it? Is might that be a thing in the future or?
I'm open to lots of stuff. I think that I hope one of my strengths is I'm very open minded and receptive, and like if I spot something that piques my interest, like I embrace it and give it all, and I have a certain my personality and who I am has a certain like positivity. I like to be an energy giver, not an energy taker, and
Mm,
so
mm,
I
mm.
think that I I've heard, I don't know if sometimes you don't believe what you hear, but I've heard that like, I inject a lot of energy and positivity and hopefulness and hard work into companies. And that's what I'm, if that manifests itself as my own company, awesome. If it manifests as me as an employee of someone else's company that I really believe in them and the mission and what they're doing, then that's cool too. I don't feel like I have a path that I necessarily want to choose. I just want to make sure that I find the right path.
So there's not let's say that there's not really a goal for you at the moment, and that you're more like, we'll see where I get
Yeah.
kind of attitude.
Yeah, Outreach was an amazing run. I naively thought if I go to Catalyst, it'll feel the same. It didn't feel the same. I had a lot of fun and made a lot of relationships, but it wasn't the same. And then as we were getting closer to being acquired by Great Hill Partners to merge with one of our biggest competitors to Tango, like that was a chance for me to reassess. And for me, I put in a lot. My dad taught me how to work hard, and I work really, really hard. Like when I sit down in this chair at 7 a.m., even though I don't have a job right now, I still sit down in this chair every morning between 7 and 7:30 a.m., and I grind till 5 or 5:30. I do it every single day. I don't do it because I have to. I do it because I like it. Like that's who I
Mm.
am. Like that work ethic brings meaning to my life, right? It's like what I like to do. And so,
But what are you working for then? Like the thing is like, because like it's like the same like with Outreach, you've got that 10 million goal. You're aiming for that 10 million goal, and then every department has got something to add. If it's adding, let's go for it. If it doesn't add, we skip it.
mhm.
Like, isn't that like um, then dangerous to have like for your personal life not a certain goal or not a certain thing to work at, because you don't know like, is this adding to where I'm going or not? If that makes sense.
I don't know. I don't feel it doesn't feel dangerous to me. Like for me right now, like I am doing the stuff that I do on LinkedIn, which I get. I like to help people. I've done some fractional consulting work, which allows me to kind of keep my mind sharp and see a bunch of different kind of ways people are doing things. Honestly, I am exploring a couple things and a couple ideas that I might want to do as I'm I've been really lucky, man. I think about it for like 10 years. I've got to meet with many of the greatest minds of go to market, pre-sales and post-sales. And,
Mhm.
when you have as many conversations with as many really smart, intelligent, interesting people as I have, you end up seeing like, oh, there's certain things in the market that nobody really has figured out, or a little off, or like could use some adjustment, or we're going in a non-sustainable direction as an industry that
But I'm not necessarily talking like the so when I'm more about like I see that a lot in people that like for instance, let's say a consultancy firm, they know really good how to help customers, but when it comes to themselves, they're not doing the ICPs, they're not doing the funnels, etc. Like I see the same with like entrepreneurs, for instance, like they have a very structured business, but their personal life is less structured, if that makes
oh,
sense. Like they've got business goals, but they don't have personal goals.
I
Um,
I used to I don't share this a lot, but I used to be a pastor at my church for 15 years. Yeah,
really?
I was full time doing everything I did, and I was Pastor Mark, and did marriage counseling and mentoring of young people, and helped run a youth ministry and do all that kind of stuff. And
Pastor. Okay.
we can get into that. But one of the things that I did was for my church every year, probably a little bit before Thanksgiving, we would start planning for the next year as a group of people, and I would get up and do a few messages and workshops on how to set annual goals and like why goals are important and what to do. And honestly, I've done that so much and seen so many people go through it and what it's done that like I don't know if I believe the current research that says that you need to have goals. I personally don't set goals for myself anymore, and I used to teach people to
Okay.
set goals. I have found that people are bad at setting goals. They're overly aggressive. They end up beating them down. They end up measuring themselves against things that aren't realistic. And even if you really work hard to try to set people up for a way that they can get somewhere they want to get, their over aggressiveness and over eagerness sometimes like outweighs it. And it's just kind of like the New Year's resolution thing is like I think most people go into the new year thinking that they want to do a bunch of stuff, and then they just don't build in the personal habits and stuff to be able to do it, and
It's
then they
like
get
it's
beat
like
down because they're
one
not
of my
successful.
favorite Bill Gates quotes is people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, that's that. So I don't do the whole goal thing anymore. It's just that didn't doesn't work for me after all these years and having done it for years. Like it didn't help me. I would say honestly, what it mostly did is it probably got me so single minded that I wasn't open to other things because I was like, oh, I got to do this. I've set this down. Like I've put this out publicly. Like I have to achieve this. And now I'm like not taking in other interesting things. And I probably missed a few things along the way. I might have missed outreach
Hmm.
if I had been doing that too much because I had all these personal goals of stuff I wanted to do. And so, outreach was such a strange and weird 1 in a 10 billion opportunity for me that like I just would rather get more inputs and have to deal with that than I would to be really focused and not get as many inputs. I don't know. That's just
Real talk, real talk, real talk. Do you regret leaving Outreach?
no, I don't regret living outreach. 8 year, if you look at my employment history, my first job I had 7 or 8 years. My second job I had 7 or 8 years. My third job I had 7 or 8 years. Catalyst was a shorter stint, but
There's, hmm.
but yeah, no, um, I think I'd learned a lot at outreach, and I'm a while I do like the machine in place and tinkering with the machine and getting it really tuned up. I think I prefer the building part a little bit more. So
Mm,
having
yeah.
huge $20+ million quarters with dozens and dozens, 150 some reps, and not having those personal connections with a lot of people is it's good for a while. It's a real ego thing, but after a while, like what I desire is like really close personal connections with people that where we're learning and helping each other and getting to know each other better and all that. That's like what I really enjoy.
Yeah, okay, okay. I want to go back a little bit to the goal thing. So I want to explore that a little bit because I find it quite interesting. Because I believe that people need I believe that people need a drive, need to put a meaning, although it's a complete fabrication by themselves for themselves. The meaning to life that they give, and it's like I wake up, I still grind from 7 to 5, but I have no goals. Isn't then like keeping that work ethic kind of a goal, whether it's subconsciously? Like I want to explore that a little bit, if you would allow us.
I guess it depends on how you define goal. Like when you say goal to me, the way I interpret it is, I have this objective that I want to achieve, and it's time bound and it's specific, and it's measurable.
Smart.
Yeah, right. The whole SMART goal thing, and like boom, I can. That's a goal. If I would say like work ethic isn't a goal, that's just a choice. Like, am I going to work hard every day? That's a choice. Now, maybe some people need a fuel for that. They need something that causes them to want to choose that every day. For me personally, that's not something I have to choose. It's like if I go on vacation by the day 3 or day 4, like I start to feel a little bit anxious because I'm not,
But you should take vacation. You're working too hard.
I agree with that, but let me take it the way I like to take it. I remember in the beginning, like I would be up at, let's say like I went to Hawaii or something, and I'd be up at like 4 a.m. and I'd spend 2 or 3 hours just doing stuff that would make me feel like for the rest of the day I can enjoy the day. And but people are like, well, Mark, just shut it down. I'm like, no, you shut it down if you want to do
what
that.
Works for you.
I don't
works
want to
for
shut
you.
it down.
What works for me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Coming back to 10 million emails stresses me out for the entire trip. So guess what? I process my email every morning, and if you don't want to do that, that's cool. I don't care if you do it, but don't tell me I can't.
No. It's funny. People are like experts in other people's lives, but never in their own life. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It's like when you point a finger, there's 3 fingers pointing at yourself.
Yeah, that's it. And one pointing up. If it's good.
And one pointing up. Yeah. All right.
Means,
you used to be a pastor. Yeah. Of course you go there. Awesome. All right. So, like still the goals thing. Like happiness, of course, I think should be a goal. I think that happiness should be our biggest goal. The problem with happiness as a goal is that it's not specific. It's not measurable. Like, how achievable is it? It's just it's an emotion. Like you feel sad, you feel happy, maybe like more like being content or something. Buddha says that the goal is to have 0 emotions and just be, in a complete Zen state. I don't know if that's like for growth and for capitalism. Yeah, it wouldn't work together. But I don't know if it's boring or not.
No, I want emotion. What I don't want to do is be controlled by my emotions. And then the other thing is like, listen, I don't have the same religious beliefs I did when I was a pastor now. And I'm much more open to other things. And like, listen, I did some meditation this morning. And I think one of the main things that Buddha teaches us is like, your thoughts are just your thoughts. You don't create them. They just show up. But they're ephemeral unless you make them permanent. And the way you make them permanent is you grab them, you hold them, and you consider them.
Fixate.
Yeah, and so that's where I think like he's really onto something. Emotion to me is like we've been given emotion. It's there for a reason, and we need to understand it and like really embrace it because it's part of humanity. But the what I love about meditation and those things is the idea that like, that doesn't mean that you have to hold on to every thought. Some thoughts can be born and die, and you don't have to notice them. You don't have to give them significance or impact on your life. And I think that's a really important skill to learn, is to just let some stuff pass through. Don't grab it. Don't hold on to it.
I think that's a wisdom that comes with the ages.
Yeah. I'm old, so let's maybe.
How old are you exactly?
I'm 48.
40? Are you 48? Do you have Polish genes by any chance?
I'm Slavic.
Slavic. Yeah, that's it, man. Like, Black Don't Crack and Slavic. Okay, there goes my rhyme. Okay, so you don't really have any set goals for yourself, which okay, I get. What drives you though? What makes you get up in the morning?
I like helping people. Yeah,
Okay.
I love. I mean, I love being a dad. That's like my number one thing in life. I really love being a father. I don't know why, but it's very significant and important to me. And then, listen, I love hopping on calls with people, helping them out. Like, I think people have this idea about me because I have a large LinkedIn following or a semi large one. I don't know, more than average. And, you know, I like reaching out to people when they have questions and meet with them and helping them. And, I like doing that.
Being on tiny little podcast with little to zero significance. Hey, mom.
I hope she's listening.
Okay, so Nee. Mark says hi, mom. So helping people is a big thing. Yeah. Why? What does it give back to you? Because I don't believe in Samarita. In what's his name? Sometimes I really hate not being native English speaker. I even forgot the word in Dutch. Like, I don't think that anyone does something completely free
Altruistically.
of. Yeah. That's the word.
Yeah.
That's what I was aiming for. Yeah. Satisfaction.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It makes me feel good. Probably there's some ego thing built in there somewhere where like I get off on like helping people because it makes me feel smart. Uh, or
That's
like
interesting.
I get
That's interesting.
yeah, I get validated. Like the thinking that I
Mm-hmm.
have is like, oh yeah, that makes sense and people do it. Like maybe that. I don't know. I don't know why I like it. I just know I like it. I've never really like explored
That's
it.
that's super interesting, and especially the thing that you call there the validation. So I recently my stepdad, he told me something that came really like poof, that hit me. He said to me like, "You're not an entrepreneur." I've been now being an entrepreneur for 10 years or trying to at least, and he says to me, "You're not an entrepreneur," and I was like, "Ugh, ouch." And now I'm like, man, F you, I'm gonna show you and I'm gonna get your freaking validation. It's like, but why the hell do I need that validation? I think we as people, like, like that need of validation that we have, is that something that is like present when you're like aiming to, go for that 10 million or achieve things?
So
What
listen, I'm
makes you
not a
tick?
psychologist or anything, but here's what I think. Now that we're getting into this, is one is I think that there is unhealthy validation where you don't feel adequate enough, and so you seek it externally. Then I think there's a good kind of validation, which is the one I hope I have, which is I don't know. I don't think I'm the best. I don't think I'm the smartest. And like but I do think that I have good ideas. And the way that I validate them isn't by saying, well, it's my idea, so it must be awesome. It's by having other people tell me, like, yeah, that's a good idea. That makes sense. Right. And so it's like,
But that in itself already is an external validation, if that makes sense.
of course it is. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is like, I think that some people think, well, you should just be fine in yourself, right? And like you don't need to seek external validation. But like that implies a sense of real haughtiness to me, like a real over like pride. You know what I mean? Like if I don't have to seek anybody else's validation because I'm so validated because I know my stuff is so smart and I'm so this and that, like I don't need anybody else's validation. That doesn't seem like the right place to me. Like I like to talk to people and I'm not sure about my idea. Like I think it sounds good, but like I need somebody else to tell me it sounds good too.
Yeah, makes sense, makes sense. But then how is because you started you start maybe you start like, yeah, external validation is a negative thing. Um So that was then just a misstep, or I didn't understand you right, maybe.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that I've read a lot of stuff and seen a lot of stuff that says that seeking external validation can be unhealthy. And I somewhat agree with that. But at the same time, I don't think I have an unhealthy relationship with external validation. I think it's because I value other people's opinion that know more than me, and or like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I don't trust
I
myself that
mm,
much to believe everything I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think personally, I think really you're on the right track, because in the end we're human beings, we're social creatures, like whether it's personal or business, like especially as a business, like your customers need to validate your idea, else you have no business. So I'm like, why is it so bad? Like, I feel like we're always trying to be such individual creatures, while we're actually, first of all, not that special, not that different from one another. Uh, but then we look at each other and we've got different color of skin, or different this or different that, which is complete bullshit. We feel the same things, we have the same things. So why can't you get validation, like, also from the outside? I think that you're exactly like, there should be a balance there. Do you think that that validation part has always been there and it's been a big driver of your professional successes, or did you have another driver in that?
All right, well, let's go deep, man. So I grew up in Cleveland, Tennessee, which was Appalachia, very, very poor town. I went to an elementary school, and I remember having a lot of friends. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I was popular or whatever, but I do remember having a lot of friends. I was good at sports stuff, and then in the middle of sixth grade, my dad got a really good job in Greenville, Mississippi, and so we moved in the middle of my sixth grade year. And as I got into that new area, that new school, all of a sudden, like, I got introduced to a group of kids by the principal or somebody. And, the first couple weeks, you're just kind of feeling things out. So you go with who you're introduced to. And after a little bit, I started to realize, like, these aren't the type of people I'm used to hanging out with. Like, I see
Mm.
the other people that are more like me. As I tried to transition to those type of people, they I couldn't, because I was already classified in this other group, right? And I just never it never felt like I was in the right group for a while, until I finally was just like,
What were the things that made it not your group at that point in time?
um I don't remember. I just remember feeling like, all right, these are nice people, but they're not, and but they're not the type of, maybe a little bit more aggressive. I don't know exactly how to phrase it, but there's just didn't seem to be something that was what I was
Eagerness,
used to,
or
right?
ambitious, or
Yeah, I just wasn't. uh, They were at a level that I wasn't used to, and when I tried to go to the people that had a more familiar feel to me, I still remember, like, I sat down one day at their table and they just wouldn't even engage with me. And I tried doing that for a few days. And after a while, I just gave up and went back to the group of people that would talk to me. And then just decided, you know what, this is where I'm going to be and what I'm going to do and the people I'm going to hang out with. And ended up with obviously some really awesome friendships and everything. But like, I, now what I do is I was in a world where I always felt like, why am I not here? And so I think that may be where that came from. I was very musically inclined. I was in the band. Now, again, in Tennessee in sixth grade, you had to learn an instrument. So when I got to Mississippi, where you didn't, they put me in the band, and so now I'm with all the band kids. And again, I don't want to talk bad about band kids or whatever, because I ended up being the biggest band nerd in the world, and loved it. But when I got to Mississippi, that's not what I was. But I got put there because of this weird situation. And then the next thing you know, like, now they're putting me on all these musical things, and I'm not doing the sports stuff. And then my parents didn't know how to get me into baseball, so I missed baseball for a year. Then they didn't know how to get me started in football, so I missed football. Like, in all of these things that I'd been used to doing, like, I kind of missed in this weird transition period. And then I got stuck into these things that I wasn't really used to and didn't
Mm-hmm.
really do because of requirements of the school system that I came from, right? So I did
Mm-hmm.
always feel validated. And like I need the validation. Like, let me give you an example. It's like me and some of my band nerd buddies, like they all the little the jock people were always saying whatever they say. So one day we are just like, you know what? Like, if you guys want to throw down, let's throw down. Like, if you want to play football one day, let's play some flag football and see who wins. And of course, we smoked them, right? And oh well, it's not tackle, so blah blah blah. And so I've always had that chip on my shoulder a little bit. Of like, oh, you don't think I can do this? You don't think I'm that? Oh, okay. You think you're better than me? You want to play some tennis this weekend? All right, boom. I'll blow you up in tennis, right? Oh, you want to do
Mm-hmm.
this? All right, no problem. And so I think I might have always had that looking back now, but like, you know, I'm very thankful for the things that I did and the choices I made. And people always ask me, well, would you go back and change it? No, I'm super happy with the person I am today. Like, I like who I am. I really
And
enjoy my
also, let's
life.
be honest, when you were a band member, you really loved waving that stick, didn't you?
But I played the trombone, so I did this thing. But yeah.
Ooh.
But if changing those things would change who I am right now, then I would go
Ah
back.
man, yeah, exactly. I used to have a big ass cocaine addiction, an ecstasy addiction, and lots of drugs. I wouldn't change anything because it would not make me sit here right next to you having this conversation. So I'm like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how fucked up an experience was in the end. If it didn't happen, there's not like you're not sitting right here in this moment. If you're of course unhappy with where you are, yeah, that's a different
Yeah.
thing. But well, you can't change anything at the past anyway. So why even
That's why. Yeah.
try
I
to
hate that
fix
question.
something in the
I
past?
hate that question. Would you change it
So
in the past?
yeah,
No, I can't. So why even think about it? It's not worth the mental.
yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Just
All
come to
right.
peace with what's in the
Um,
past, so you can move on.
Yeah, true. Although, because like that's also an exercise, eh? Because like for instance, like with childhood traumas, like I think that a lot of our drivers come from childhood traumas. Like for me, I've got this internal slave driver of my dad not being there, not in the picture. Me questioning like, am I good enough to be loved? Because my daddy left me when I was very young. Parental love is supposed to be a given. I'm putting quote unquotes for the people listening, um, and that gave me my internal slave driver of like, hey, shit, I want to be good enough to be loved. I want to achieve. I want to amount to something. So I've got this internal slave driver in me, and I think that child traumas really form us a lot. But a lot of those child traumas also, I think, are very subconscious,
Mm.
and we get triggered sometimes when we're adults, but we don't really know why we get triggered or what gets us so emotional. I was crying I had a job very short period after going bankrupt. I worked very shortly at a SaaS company, and I remember like I was giving it my all. I was the first one to book a meeting of the new team. So I was achieving. I was doing my activities, only 40 activities a day, and there was like I was trying to get to the management position. Then it went to someone else. Then she was like, maybe 40 activities is too much. I'm like, wait, what? Anyway, and then in the end I got fired for thinking differently, which was funny. Um, and I remember a moment that I was like, I was trying my best, and I rubbed a couple of people off, and they were like telling me this, and I started crying, like tears, full wetness, because I was like, I am giving so freaking much, and I didn't feel the acceptance. And at that moment in time, I didn't understand why I was crying that much. But then when I later looked at it and I was like, why? It's because like, yeah, that need of approval I have from not having that daddy, that was a child trauma that got triggered.
Mm.
You have any of those that you're like, yeah, sometimes I have some pretty well, let's say, emotions or situations that I can pinpoint to my past.
I mean, just probably the one I gave you. Listen, I'm at peace with my past. I like who I am, and I don't feel the need to like go explore stuff. Now, I recently had a huge life change. My marriage failed after 26 years recently, and that was really really tough. But like, and I learned a lot of stuff by going to therapy through that, and really digging deep into some stuff. But you know what I didn't do is like I didn't like uh, try to figure out why certain things are the way they are. I just accepted the way they are, and then
Mm.
try to like find the good in it, and move on. You know, like but I'm like I said earlier, like I'm try to be mostly positive and push people forward and stuff like that. Not worry about like what hangups I have that are going to keep me from something.
I think that's one of the things that I've so far, like, it's a trait that all these successful people have in common. Well, societal success, quote unquote, is that a lot of people victimize themselves with stuff and like, oh, poor me, blah blah blah. And most of the people, like achievers, they're like, they also have the oh, poor me, but then they're like, okay, I can either cry about it or I can, deal with it, get on with my life, and go somewhere. And I feel that is one of the major things I've come across with everyone, is that like that not having a victim mentality, and that being like, okay, look, life is what life is, and either you whine about it or you take control. Like, is that something that you really find very prominently over your career?
100%, yeah. I I'm not going to look back on something and say, oh, well, this thing in my past or this whatever hang up or this trauma, whatever, is what made me unsuccessful. What's going to make me unsuccessful is like I didn't probably work hard enough. I didn't think about it enough. I didn't care enough. And those are all things in my control. What it comes down to me is very simple. I want to know what I can control, and I'm going to control the things I can control. And the things I don't control about, I don't worry about. You know what I mean? Like I like cold calling. Like back in early in my career, I learned really quickly. I can't control whether I book a meeting or not. So I quit worrying about it. You know what I did is
Yeah.
I worried about what I could control, which is I can make my 100 dials every single Friday and have a good attitude and be fun and do research and come prepped and do a good job on the call. I can control all that. Whether people book a meeting or not, that's out of my control. So
Yeah.
I don't things that are
And the
out of my
funny
control
thing
don't
is,
bother me.
the more you worry about getting a meeting, the less meetings you will book in the end.
100%. I don't worry about stuff not in my control. I just don't. It's not. I don't let it get into my psyche. I don't let it get into my radar. The things I can control, I can't control what happened to me as a kid. It's happened, whatever. What I can control is my reaction to it, and is it fuel or fire? Is it making me move forward, or is it burning me up? And I'm not gonna let stuff burn me up because that's only hurts me.
Did you realize that by reading Stephen Covey, or was that something you realized all by yourself?
I've never. Well, so it's funny. I sold stuff related to Stephen Covey. That was we licensed some Stephen Covey content, but I've never really read any Stephen Covey stuff.
Interesting. Very interesting. The circle of control, circle of influence, like really great thing. I think just general happiness and general level of contentness of people. It's like in traffic. Why won't you move? Blah, blah, blah. He's not gonna hear it. And also, like, if you just shift your perspective, it's like when you're on the train and the train is late, people are like, "Oh, the fucking train!"
I hate that.
It's like, yeah, you also have traffic jams when you're with the car. Like, shit will always happen to you. That's life.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I can't understand people that get mad at other people in the car. Like if somebody cuts me off, guess what? I probably this week cut somebody off myself, and I don't understand. Like I the other day, I pulled a little bit too far into an intersection, and it was where somebody was trying to make a left-hand turn around me, so they had to kind of go a little bit wide, and they flipped me off and yelled at me, and I'm like, I guarantee today you've gotten a little too far into an intersection and you got pissed when somebody yelled at you. Yet you're like, I don't understand that about humans. I do not understand.
Here we go again, pointing with the finger.
I know. I have I've figured one thing out about myself that I know is a extreme strength and an extreme weakness, which that happens a lot, is I can almost always understand someone else's point of view. Like
Mm-hmm.
I put myself in their place and I can think about it. Now sometimes that makes me too understanding, and
A hyper empath.
yeah, and then but sometimes like it helps me really connect with people. And so again, like I can be I can sit around and think about, oh, I don't need to be so empathetic, I should blah 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 this, and then but I'm just like, you know what, that's just me. I'm just going to do it. It's just like being overly transparent. I've just
Mm.
accepted it. I'm going to just do it. Like that's how I am. It's gonna burn me sometimes, and sometimes it's gonna help me. And when it burns me, it burns me. Like who cares?
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Interesting. We've talked a lot about already, like some achievements, some personal stuff. I'd love to talk a little bit more about challenges, like also something very interesting, like the victimization of oneself. What are some of the challenges that you faced in life that kept you up at night, but that you solved, that you resolved, obviously, and that you're really proud of? Like, hey, like this is something I conquered, but it was hard, or something also like because not all challenges get conquered, unfortunately. That's also nice to hear, like things that didn't go as planned. I'm trying to launch Mistake Monday on LinkedIn, where every Monday I'm putting a mistake I made,
Yeah.
whether it resolved or not. Like I think we as human peoples should talk more about the also the yeah, stuff that didn't go well. So any things, like, let's start with like challenges that you're really proud of, that you like, yeah, I conquered that. Let's start with
Uh,
those.
I get asked this every once in a while. I just don't have any good examples, man. Like, I know I have had challenge in my life and struggle, and I've actually been very cognizant of my children, like making sure that they have struggle in their life, right? Because I think being unfamiliar with struggle is probably a huge handicap, because we're all gonna have struggles, and you gotta get used to that a little bit and like pushing forward. But listen, I can. I've had failure in my life for sure. Like living in central Pennsylvania, there weren't a lot of jobs, that really could change your life. There were good jobs that you could be okay with, but nothing that could like propel you forward into like a different a different way without taking a ton of risk or like coming up with an interesting idea or whatever. And I remember one time me and a couple of my buddies said, well, hey, we don't see a path to having the kind of lifestyle and the things that we want. Let's start flipping properties. And I bought a
Mm-hmm.
house for $9,000 that had a sewer lien on it that some old man had died in, and so nobody wanted to buy it, right?
9,000. What?
Yeah, $9,000. And then we started
That's
fixing it
super
up.
cheap, by the way. In Belgium, no way that you can ever get any house whatsoever under 100K.
Oh,
Impossible.
not here either anymore. So it was just a one, crazy situation. So we bought it. Now, did I have enough money to do that with my buddies? No. Did I have enough money to invest in fixing it up? No. So we ended up like do, financing. One of our guys had a good credit rating, so we got a bunch of credit cards, and we just bought everything on the credit cards. And as soon as the zero interest rate stuff would end up, we'd switch credit cards and transfer the balances. And we had this like elaborate game going on that was, the one guy's a finance guy, so he managed that. And then I had an engineer buddy who helped us figure out what kind of stuff. And then I was kind of like a laborer, if you will, and I would go sweep and tear down walls and put up drywall, and kind of learned on the job. And we did that for fix up that house for a couple months, and it was looking really good, and we were probably going to make a lot of money, uh, relatively speaking. And you know what happened is we had a realtor stop by one day when we were out there, and she said, hey, this house is really coming together. She's like, I've been watching it. She's like, how much are you going to sell it for? We said, we think we can get like $70,000 for this house. And we had only put probably $30,000 or $40,000 into it. So that was going to be a great win for all of us. And she's like, well, I think you could sell it for 95. And we're like, 95? That doesn't make sense. And she showed us all these comps, and we trusted her. I was probably 24, 25 years old. I didn't know what to do. And so we started doing stuff to make sure it would be worth 95,000. We put in granite instead of what we were planning on. We put in stainless steel appliances instead of regular ones. We put in ceramic tile in places we shouldn't. And all of a sudden the costs start to go up. And guess what happens? We put it on the market, didn't sell. Now we got carrying costs and all this other stuff. And by the end, we ended up selling the property and lost $3,000. And at that time, $3,000 was like, that was crippling. Even split amongst my 2 or 3 partners, it was crippling for me. And what did I learn in that? Like, I learned how to do drywall. I learned how to be a handy guy. I learned that if you want to play around with credit cards, you can figure it out as long as you stay on top of it. I also learned that if you just trust somebody because they have a certain title or whatever, they can lead you wrong. And like sometimes you need to stay in your own personal convictions of what you want to do. Stay the course, right? Don't get greedy. And so we fought back from that and made it happen. But like that was a huge challenge. And we were going to do another property, and then one of the guys got squirrely, and we ended the real estate empire, and moved on. But like that was super interesting. But I'm a super handy guy. I can fix almost anything. I can do a lot of stuff now because of that. So.
I think that the only way to really fail is by not doing, if that makes sense.
My buddy David Rubenstein says, you never fail if you set a goal too high and just miss. You only fail if you set a goal too low and hit it.
That's that's a nice one also.
That's a good one,
right?
That's
a really nice one also.
Yeah.
I really like for that. I really like the B hack of the Rockefellers, like the big hairy audacious goal.
Yeah, B hack. Yeah.
I love that. It's like even if you get here, you're still here. While if you dream here and you get here, So yeah. Okay, so that's obviously a failure. Lesson well learned. What do you usually do when things don't really go the way you want them or things go south? Like what motivates you to keep going and to try to still make the best out of a crappy situation, or even flip it to a positive situation? Like what's pushing you to
Yeah,
stay the course?
I can make anything positive. Like I can find the good in anything, the benefit, the reason why it happened. I don't care about failing. Like I care about it in the moment. Like, but overall, like failing is where you learn lessons and you grow, right? So I don't know, man. Like I just have an innate desire to kind of push through, keep tinkering, figure it out, keep it's kind of like a TV show. If the TV show or movie is super predictable, I'm not interested. I want unpredictability. And if I am drawn to unpredictability, that means that I can't be predictably successful all the time and have an interesting life to me. So sometimes I take too big a risk. Like the outreach risk I took was too big. But that worked out huge. I went from
you were first employee. That is a
I went to first employee on 100% commission, and I had 4
on 100% commission.
Yeah, and I have 4 kids, and a mortgage, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but then you really need to make it work. It's like a lot of people are like, it's like I also feel that's also another thing is like when you're comfortable, your work ethic is comfortable. When you're not comfortable and you need to get out of that uncomfortable situation, then your work ethic is not comfortable, if that makes sense.
Totally. No,
so,
no risk, no reward. That I 100% believe that. You're not going to feel comfortable and safe and all that and grow to a different level. You can get incremental small growth in that way if you're super intentional about it.
But I also think that comfort and stability, I think stability is an illusion. Like a lot of people are like, I want to have a steady job, I want to have a stable income. Personally, I think there's only one stability in life. It's the skill sets that you have. Like if you're a neurosurgeon and someone comes to you and robs you of your car and your fancy watch. A year later, you'll have the same car, the same fancy watch because you've got a skill set. When you work a job and just do your job, and then you get robbed, you're not gonna have that same car, same watch, and everything because, like, you don't have that skill set, if that makes sense. And I feel that a lot of people really mistake stability for having a steady check, while I think that true stability comes more from amounting yourself, or like what you're able to do, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I have a feeling like it's a physical manifestation, like right here in my core. And in the morning, when I wake up, if I feel that, I know something is off. And if something's off, then in the shower, I explore it. Like, why do I feel like this right now? Is it real? Like, oh my gosh, like I remember when I was super young, I can't pay my bills this month. Like, what am I going to do about that? That's real, right? Then there's imaginary, which is like, oh, things are about to collapse, or I'm not working hard enough, or like, I just, all these decisions I made are all gonna fail, and what is gonna happen, and those are false. And so what I do is I identify like what's going on, and then I attack whatever's going on with activity, and that's my mechanism for not feeling like that. Like, I'm doing some crazy stuff right now. I feel that right now. I have it in my gut right now. That feeling of uneasiness, nervousness, slight anxiety, like I don't feel like my normal centered, happy-go-lucky self, right? I feel anchored to something is in here that's anchoring me into a place that doesn't feel like me. So I need to explore that, and then I need to attack it with activity. And I think what a lot of people do is they try to like gloss over it. They ignore it. They don't know how to deal with that thing. And that's when you use, you start drinking a lot, or you start using drugs, or you start like, there's other ways to cope with that, to ignore it. I don't ignore that feeling. I attack it, and I make it go away. And I've learned how to do that for me. And I don't want to make it seem like anybody can just do that, or it's simple, or it's not hard. But like for me, I know if I punt it, if I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll have a gummy tonight, not worry about that. And like, I'll just think about it in the morning, that it's going to be intensified in the morning. And I so hate that I'm just not going to deal with it.
It's like the bandage. It's like you can go it slowly, and it will take a shitload of time, but it will hurt the fuck, and it will be constant hurt. Or you can just rip it off. It will hurt massively, but then you're okay.
And it's like dishes in the sink, man. Like when I'll never
do them directly. Don't
just do them
in the sink.
Just do them. Would you rather spend? I've literally timed this because my kids and all this stuff. I'll remember one time in my life I walked in the kitchen and there was dishes fucking everywhere, and I was like, you know what? Never again. I'm never doing this again. When I have a dirty dish, I will wash it. And I still remember young 20s. I do that to this day. I will not put a dish in the sink. I'll either wash it or put it in the dishwasher. That's the only two choices to me. And you know what? I've started to time things. Do you know how long it takes to wash a plate? 13 seconds. That's it.
Okay.
So 13 seconds. Or I can put plate after plate after plate after plate. And the next thing you know, I'm standing there for 20 minutes doing dishes. Versus 13 seconds, I don't even really notice. 20 minutes?
Yeah.
That sucks. And so like
it's
one of my
actually
things.
quite easy. Discipline equals self-love.
There you go.
That's it. Like, because at the end of the night, if you're like, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. Yeah, you chose at that moment not to do it because you were not disciplined. If you're at night and you're like, I had a nice day, it's because you were disciplined and because you love yourself.
Yeah. Now,
I think it's that simple.
Yeah, and like when you have a habit of discipline, when there are times when you're like, you know what, I'm not going to do that right now, and that's a conscious choice versus the just toss it in the thing, and then you're always you're always wondering why you got a stack of dishes in there and you're avoiding.
I don't know if you had that, but like a lot of people are like, I'm not disciplined, and then you create this false reality for yourself, because discipline, it's not a skill to have. It's literally just a choice.
Yeah.
You do something, and or not. You know, that's it.
So you know,
And
it's
and then say like I'm not disciplined. It's like no. You choose not to do something when you have to do it. Like, did you ever have moments that you were like,
sure.
or were you always like the
No, all the time. You know, I should mow the grass today, but I don't feel like it. I just freaking do it and get it over with. You know, I tell my kids this all the time because they would be like, you know, my 14-year-old was up really late because his siblings are in town. My kids are all older. So one sibling's home from college. The other one came in from her, where she lives in Pittsburgh. And so they were doing stuff really late last night, which I love, right? But he was super grumpy. And I was like, listen, dude, I'm not going to tell you can't stay up because that's your choice. But like what I am telling you is you can't act like this because it's not fun to be around you right now. And like, I enjoy you and I don't want to not enjoy you, but you're making that the case right now. And he's like, oh, I'm tired. I can't do it. I was like, if I gave you $1 million right now to act differently, you would do it. And I was like, so it's not a condition, it's a choice. And so all my kids hate that now because I'll be like, I'll give you $1 million, and if you can choose.
Yep. It's the same with like sports or something. It's like, oh, it's burning. If tomorrow someone has put a gun on your head, will you be able to do it? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then stop making excuses for yourself.
Yeah.
Like really. By the way, because you don't like predictability, have you ever seen the movie Hesher?
What is it? Asher?
Hesher. Hesher.
Never heard of it.
Oh man, it's with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It is one of the most unpredictable movies that you can watch. It is amazing, like literally amazing.
Huh? Have you ever seen?
Like I've got this fascination with movies, and it's like one of my superpowers. I'm always able to tell what's gonna happen, or the double cross, or the thing that no one sees. And I've got like, you know, I'm just gonna put a number on it, like a 97% accuracy on that. Hesher, from start to finish, I had like 12%.
Wow.
Like, it is the most unpredictable movie that you can imagine. Everything that you think will happen does not happen. And even knowing that everything that you think will happen will not happen, and changing your mind about what you might think might happen will not happen. So that is like might happenception, if you ask me.
That's awesome, man. You should watch. I don't know if you
really.
watch Memento. Same thing.
Memento, yeah. Memento, yeah.
Movies backwards. It's You're just like what? It takes you like 3/4 of the movie to orient yourself to what's happening.
Yeah. Also, but like the Curious Case of no, not really similar. Fight Club though. Also.
There's another one with Michael Douglas in it. I think it's called The Game, and that had one of the biggest twist. Like that had a like 3/4 of the movie, I was just like, wasn't expecting that. Like, totally got me. The Game.
1997?
Yeah, it's an old one. I used to work in a movie store, like renting DVDs and VHSs out in college. So I'm quite the mid '90s movies buff.
My early childhood dream was to become an actor. So now I'm like, I once want to have the enough money to start a production house. You know, like, why be an actor if you can own the actor or pay the actors?
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So also kind of a cinephile.
Yeah, I like movies. I watch a lot of movies. Furiosa, best movie of the year.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh,
I saw. Which one did I see?
I'm a big sci-fi guy, and Matt.
Yeah, sci-fi.
Yeah, oh yeah. I've read hundreds of sci-fi books, and
Have you seen The Foundation? It's on Apple.
yeah.
It's on Apple TV.
Totally, yeah.
I think personally it's one of the best like special effects there is that has been recently made. Like it's just.
Yeah, I love
The
that.
same with the three body problem, also nice, but I'm really wondering how they're gonna do the rest because the books go very far. So I'm really wondering how they're gonna do the next books of the three body problem.
If you want to watch a really crazy one, you need to watch Scavenger's Reign.
Scavenger's
Scavenger's Reign. REIGN. It was on HBO Max, or it was on Max. Then they wanted to
Rain,
do
I saw
season
it.
two,
Yeah,
so
here. I
Netflix
have it.
bought it, and Netflix will do season two. You should watch it. It's the first 5 minutes will be like,
It's a cartoon, right?
yes, the first five
Yeah.
minutes you'll be like this. You will be so confused, and you talk about unexpected. There's not. You'll be at negative 100% on your
Okay.
prediction
All
scale on
right.
this thing. It
I
makes
am
no
sold.
sense.
I am sold. I just realized something. We're in a podcast. I completely forgot for a second there.
That was a good
So,
one.
yes. But I also see that our time's up. Man, it's Mark. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you again being on this tiny little podcast. Really, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I really hope to see you a lot in the future. And I always end at the same. Mark, it was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right. See you later, man.
See ya.